Hi everyone, and welcome to this installment of our security webinar series. Today we're going to be looking at gain and improve compliance with the ACSC Essential 8. I'm Abdul Azize, a solutions engineer with Ivanti here in Australia, and with me is my colleague Shane Wescott. Shane?
How are we, guys? I am Shane Wescott, as Abdul said, security technology evangelist here at Ivanti. And yeah, we're going to do this webinar today to hopefully inform you and give you some great insight into some of our security solutions.
Awesome. So what we're looking at today is Ivanti and the ACSC Essential 8 and where we play. I'm going to take you through some application control, specifically around Maturity Level 3 compliance, and then have a quick demo of what that looks like. Shane's going to run you through some patch intelligence, some patch management, both from our Neuron SaaS platform, and then give you a demo of both, and then we'll take some of your questions. So Ivanti and the E8. As many of you know, we have a pretty big security portfolio, but what we're going to be looking at today falls under the device and applications pillars. Under devices, anything from your risk-based vulnerability management, managing your mobile endpoints, your laptops and standard like endpoints, servers, device control, that sort of stuff. And on the application side, we have our app control for Windows and Linux, which we probably don't talk about enough, but we definitely should more, as well as things like ASOC for your vulnerability management around your applications.
Let me take you through our security journey. So we talk a lot about ACSC Essential 8 with customers. And what we do is we take people from the operational side, the boring basics, the patch and discovery, move them into the foundational side where we've got things like privilege management, device control, app control in there as well. And then we have the capabilities of taking people on their security maturity journey all the way up to and including being an optimized type site.
All right, so moving into more of the agenda, so I will take you through some application control. So a lot of us know what application control does, but a quick high level around Ivanti application control, it's going to help you protect against zero-day vulnerabilities as well as ransomwares, basically just by stopping applications that we don't trust. Our solution gives you a pretty low management overhead. We can do a pretty fast rollout to give you a quick ROI. That's something that I'll be showing in the demo. It's super flexible to user needs, and it's proven the ANZ. We have just a heap of customers using it, from government to private. Everyone, like hundreds of people using it. One of the big feathers in the cap for our app control is our trusted ownership platform. Essentially, it utilizes NTFS permissions to help harden and enforce the application control and allow listing itself. So by default, applications from trusted sources, whether it comes from an Intune or an SCCM or something like that, as they get pushed out, they're going to be inherently allowed based on the trusted ownership. So in this case, if on the right-hand side of this slide, you can see the default trusted owners. So this is the NTFS owner. By default, we got system, built-in admins, a local admin, and trusted installer, which will cover off a lot of those applications that come from an application management type of solution. So then the second tick box there around change file ownership. So if a file is modified by an end user or anyone, it's we see that and we flip the ownership and immediately block it. So this is what gives you a very low administration overhead. What's trusted is trusted. If somebody tries to play with it, we then block it. Pretty straightforward. Anything you want to add, Shane, or good to go?
No, I think that's good to go. And I mean, this core trusted ownership principle is why there is such a low admin overhead. I mean, if you roll out things via an authorized mechanism, they're instantly whitelisted. You don't need to go in and, change a thing every time there's a patch, for example, or when you want to add a new app. If it's rolled out by SCCM, EPM or any other solution, Intune, something like that, it's instantly allowed.
Yeah, that's it. Makes it very, very useful. And it's very important when it comes to our play around Maturity Level 3, which I'll show in a sec. So let's get into that now. So a lot of words here, but essentially what we've got on this slide is the controls around the Maturity Level 3 for application control from the ACSC. So what we've got as a control, and then the sub point would be how we help you meet it. So as an example, the top one, implemented on workstation and servers, obviously we can do that. The controls around your HTML apps, compile HTML, control panel applets, how we can help you meet those. The drivers we'll touch on the next slide. It's a little bit different, but for everything else there, we're good to go. but we can stop the installation of new drivers. The Microsoft recommended rules, we have snippets for these out of the box inside the console, which is something I will show. And if there are updates that haven't made it into the console yet, we'll have downloads for those so you can grab it. So to continue on, as I mentioned with the driver rules, we can block the installation of new drivers, but blocking drivers already loaded into the kernel, it's not something that we can do. Microsoft does that very well. It's their kernel, they know what they're doing. So using something like the Microsoft group policy to do that is a great way to block it, alongside the app control from Ivanti. A few of the things listed here, like validating your rule sets, monitoring your event logs and things like that, they're process-driven administrative tasks that need to be done by the organization themselves. The app control tool is not going to be able to help you do that as such. Anything you want to add to that, Shane, or we're good? We're good. So I think
that's
well
pretty comprehensive. That's pretty comprehensive. I mean, those Microsoft recommended block rules have been in the solution for a while. They come out of the box, so you're going to show those later on, which is good. But yeah, you've got to have your system processes in place to have an effective application control solution. So it's not just all about the tech.
Exactly. So the approach itself, what we'd like to do around that is the using path rules. So for those like myself who work in the Fed Gov space a lot, you refer to the ISM a bit. So I have the controls listed there for those that might want to see it. So control 0955 lists the type of application control that needs to be used, one of which being path rules. Then we harden that with trusted ownership. So the controls 1392 and 1746 cover off that if you're using path rules for application control, then the NTFS security needs to be hardened to help control things as well, which is exactly what trusted ownership does. And that's what makes it such an easy solution for us to hit ML3 without relying on hashing an entire hard drive. Other rules can be used if required. We do all types of application controls you'd expect. So something like a USB drive as an example, those drive loaders may change all the time. So doing a path rule, not going to be really fit for purpose. Just do a hash rule for those. It's going to work easy. Maybe something like a WebEx in the user profile. User profile being user owned is going to be blocked by default. So you might want to do something like cert rules. So trust Cisco certs, use WebEx. WebEx is Cisco, I think. So that sort of stuff we can do around that. So that's, and that takes us to the benefits. So as we mentioned before, low admin overhead. Essentially, the deployed application is going to be trusted by default, and it's going to get your super quick rollout time. And we have a look at how we actually go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to move across to my lab. So this is my server where I have our UWM suite, which the application control is part of. So we have a few tools internally in the ANZ team, including our services team, and one of which would be a bunch of different scripts that we can run to basically get you there. So what this is going to do, if I open it up here, it's pointed at one of my Windows machines, in this case, the Windows 10 1909 box, which is over here. Don't wait for the connection. There it is. So I'm just going to hit go. It's going to scan that machine and drop me a configuration file here on the desktop, which is going to get you 90% of the way there to hit material level 3. The rest is going to be working with our services team or internally if you have the skill set there to do the ordering to get you the rest of the way. It creates all the path rules that you'd want, puts them into group management for ease of use. Just shrink that, puts them into your everyone allowed group, and then you can just go to here to set it to restricted or unrestricted or ordering, depending on what you want to do. You probably want to go to ordering first. And that gets you the big sort of build that you'd need to really get going. Or the Microsoft recommended blocks. Up here we have a button for import snippet. You hit that, so mine's a bit of an older console, but we can see where it would be. You hit add, continue. Then at the bottom of your group management, you'll see that you now have Microsoft recommended blocks, your XML and JavaScript blocks, and it would have added them in already to your denied group. So that's how we sort of start the build process and how we can get you there very, very quickly, as you can see. We can base it off a scanning of multiple machines or a single machine to produce this configuration and do it for you really, really quickly.
That is super quick to get to that such high level of maturity. So that's awesome. Really good.
Yeah. So I've already got this running on one of the endpoints. So I'll open the live one so you guys can have a look. This one's set up on that 1909 box already. I've got those controls here. And it's in place. And as you can see, it's already set to restricted. So to show you just how it sort of works out of the box, I'll just log into this machine. My wickedly fast lab.
Mate, it's skating along.
There we go. So from here, it's going to work like a standard machine for an end user. Things that you expect to be blocked will be blocked. So if you go to open PowerShell or something like that, you're going to get a message saying, hey, you can't do that. That's not going to be allowed. But everything else that they might want to use, whether it be Edge or part of the Office suite, is all going to be good to go completely out of the box. And then from there, you just work on your ordering, get your deltas, and get it all running. Nice and straightforward.
Sounds nice and easy, mate.
Cool.
Easy to implement with low ongoing maintenance. That's the dream world for app control. And the thing people sometimes don't realize is that this year, 2023, is application control at Ivanti's 25th birthday. 25 years of providing this service to customers. So we have extensive rule sets that have been developed over years. And it's just something that's been around for a long time, doing a great job, and more important than ever these days.
Exactly. Cool. Over to you, Shane, for patching.
Sounds like a plan, mate. Let me share my screen and rip into what we are going to do here. So let me minimize you, do this, and do that. Okay, so we're going to talk about Ivanti Neurons for Patch Intelligence first, and then Ivanti Neurons for Patch Management. So Ivanti Neurons for Patch Intelligence is a module, can be purchased separately, but it does come with the capability of Ivanti Neurons for Patch Management. So it's one of the add-ons in there. Very critically, it has what we call a VRR in there. Ivanti acquired a company called RiskSense back in the middle of 2021. And those guys have the ability to take in over 100 plus feeds and then put some context around the threat level of different vulnerabilities. It's a live informational feed. So it will change day to day on what's actually happening out there in the wild. If the hackers are actively exploiting a particular vulnerability, it will go up to critical fairly quickly. If they're not, it will start to come down. So that is included in Patch Intelligence, so you can get a really good handle on where things are. Why is that important? That's really important when you do an ACSC maturity with patching, because the specs say that you need to patch anything that has been exploited within 48 hours. Depending on what level you're on, will depend on which part of your architecture needs to be patched in that time frame. But there is a requirement to patch in that time frame. What you want to be able to do is find that out quick and easily. Quick view here of Ivanti Neurons for Patch Intelligence, our new version that we have just released a few days ago. It can show you in a couple of quick views the top vendors, what sort of patch types are being released, and there's always a great Patch Tuesday capability there to show you what was in the latest Patch Tuesday. I'm going to show you the smart filters and how they work, so I won't talk too much about them. I want to demo them instead. So we've seen Patch Intelligence. It links into Ivanti Neurons for Patch Management. So this is our full SaaS patching solution. Covers Windows OS, Windows third party. We've got Mac support being released as we speak. So that will be out fairly soon. And that will be amazing for people who want to do their Windows and their Macs all in one SaaS-based solution. Zero infrastructure for you guys. So there's nothing to do for work from home users. They patch themselves. They report back all of their patch scan results and their patching success or failures back to a centralized console. Makes it easy to manage. You've got things like Patch Intelligence there. I've talked about that. You can put in some SLAs there. You've got trending insights, all sorts of things. And one of the things we've worked a lot on recently is our compliance reporting. So I'll show you how that hangs together as well. Quick look at the view there. This is the endpoint vulnerability. Key thing to note in the top right there is there's a blank spot that says exploited. But if you do have any exploited patches missing on any of your architecture, that will be instantly highlighted there, which makes it really quick and easy again to see what are the bits I need to patch really quickly for my 48-hour compliance level with the Essential 8. Right, let's take a look at that apps and see what it looks like. So I'm into our Ivanti Neurons homepage, if you like. A couple of elements down here. This is where we have patch management. So these agents are rolled out. Ivanti Neurons agent is rolled out. When you roll out the agent, you select, I want that agent to include patch management, and it will then roll out the patch management engine as part of the install. Let's have a quick look at patch intelligence first. So we go into this view. Now, if you're using our discovery mechanism and you have information coming in from one of our patching solutions, you can tick this button here. It will then show you what's happening on your architecture with the relevance to all of the patching bits and pieces that you're looking at. You turn that off, you'll see everything that is happening worldwide. Okay, so I'm just going to clear that up. One of the great things we just recently put in is our smart filters capability, which I love. It's only just been released, but it allows me to create my own little filter, and I've created one called Shane's Exploited Patches. Pretty easy one for me to create, because basically all I did was go in here and tick the box saying exploited and then save that as a smart filter. So by default, if I turn that off, let me just show you what it looks like without. This is your view that you're going to get. Without that, you'll see all the different patches that have been released. As you can see, quite up to date. We've got some from May the 2nd, which was May the 2nd US time. So effectively that's today/yesterday that have been showing up in the platform. But if I put my little smart filter back on, you'll see I now go to capability where I can see what has been exploited. These little bugs here mean that that particular vulnerability has been exploited. Now, I talked about the VRR. Interesting to see here, if I see these ones up here, these are really good case in point. I have a lot of customers who will say, yeah, we're really under time pressure, so we only patch critical. The stuff that comes out from the vendor that says security critical, that's what we patch. Here is a bunch of security important. These are also underneath 8.0 CVSS. So again, I'll have customers say, we only patch things over CVSS 8.0. They will miss all of those patches. And yet they are critical. And the reason they're critical, if I click on, let's pick on this one here. The reason they're critical, and you can drill into any of these patches and get all the full skinny on what's going on with it. If I click on CVE, you'll see that that one has been flagged as remote code execution as an exploit that's been used with this particular CVE, which is part of that patch. Okay, so you can quickly and easily drill in, get all of the latest information on what's happening with those patches and see what's going on. Now, let's say I want to grab a few of these and I want to actually put them into a patch group and roll them out. I can click on those in a box. I could say, yep, I want to add to a patch group. I'll chuck them into Shano's patch group, mate, put them in there, click on save, and I've just added those patches into my patch group. I could export them out as a list of bulletins, if I'm going to give that to SCCM or something like that, or I could export them out as a list of CVEs, and all of our patching solutions, including this one, have the capability to do a CVE upload, so you can pull things out of Tenable Rapid 7 Qualys, for example, choose the file, and it will then convert that list of CVEs into a list of patches. Pretty cool stuff, isn't it, Abs?
Yeah, the CVE to patch in particular is something that I find super useful. It's just such a big time saver when it comes to this.
Absolutely. Right, let's have a look at the guts of Ivanti Neurons for patch management. We have some configurations here, which are basically your patch settings, if you like. We have a list of our patch groups. You can see there's that patch group I just added some patches into right there. If I look at my configurations, I've got one right here. Let's just click on the edit button. A couple of things I really love about this particular area of Ivanti Neurons for patch management. We get the ability to configure what we want to patch for. So I can pick my severity levels. I can pitch a patch group, or I could say, you know what, I want to do all that, but I only want to do it for certain vendors. We have over 100 vendors and about 2,500 different products. The cool thing is, over here, I get a summary of that, which shows me what I've selected. So if I turn that off, you'll see that this patch group disappears from this summary over here. So I'm now not going to do that patch group. I get the capability of seeing what sort of other options I've selected here. So post-deployment reboot, for example. I like this one, alert the user and deploy after logoff, interacts with the user, shows them something, they can then log off, and they know that when they log off, if there's a reboot required, it will run after they've logged off. Okay, so you've got a bunch of options there. The other cool thing about the recurrence, which you can pull for daily, weekly, monthly, or whatever, or I've got customers who love the fact that you can do an offset off Patch Tuesday. So you can do that for different groups and have that rolling out. But the cool thing about this is you go down, you can see all the actual dates that the patching is going to occur. If you've got an offset between deployment and the scan, you'll see that show up as well. But that gives you the ability to go through the dates and say, actually, we can't do that one because it clashes with end of month or whatever it is. So you can see that up front, all of the schedules in one clean view to show what's going to happen with your patching cycle. One of the things I wanted to show you guys was our compliance reporting, something we've worked on. And I'll just finish off on that. You can see here, you can see this in a little bit of a view there. I can click on any one of those. I can go and modify these dates. So if I take that back a bit to just March 20th, that'll it. You can see that my compliance was quite good, dropped down a bit. So a few new things were released, and then I've had to pick that up. And we've still got a few devices to do there to come up to the same level. But you can set your thresholds there and you can work out where you are on your threshold with your compliance result. Have a look at all your endpoints, and happy days to that. We want to thank you for your attendance. We want you to get to ask any more questions. We have our next one coming up in our webinar series, the risk-based vulnerability management. We'll be doing that on the 14th of June.